Hello everybody. Today I'm going to try something new, and instead of writing a blog post, I'm going to make a video blog. And this video blog is going to be talking about one of the differences between the language Ruby and the language JavaScript. Ruby is a language I've been learning for the past few weeks, and JavaScript is a new language that I have learned this week. And specifically, I will be speaking about some of the differences in looping through arrays and learning how to um, iterate over array. Now, to iterate over array, let's get started. In Ruby, type in IRB, which is the Ruby environment in the terminal, and we will make a array. So x will be equal to a simple array, which will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is our array. Now in Ruby, we do not have to declare that x is a variable. Ruby understands on its own that it's a variable. Now, I would like to loop through this array, which means I would like to do one action for every element in this array. Now, these actions can be anything. So I will start with a very simple one, and I want to print each of these numbers to the console, which is this black thing, on its own line. Now, Ruby has many built-in methods to help you iterate and loop through arrays and do different things with them. Today I will be using a method called the each method. So to start off, we will call the method x.each, and now we will pass it a block of code to know what to do for each element. So the placeholder will be I. Now here I really doesn't mean anything, but when we run the loop, I will stand in for each of these elements of x. And what we want to do is very simple. We will puts, which means print on a new line, I. We will close it, and I press enter. You see here that all of the numbers were printed on their own line. Now to do this in JavaScript is actually a lot more complicated. So let's get started with that. And I will have to close IRB. Let's clear the screen and open another environment called Node. And Node works for JavaScript. Now, so in JavaScript, to declare a variable, we have to type var to tell the program that it's a variable. So it's going to be the same, var x, and it's going to be equal to an array, which we will make of the same elements. Now that is our array. Now for us to loop over it, just fix it, take away that last comma, there we go. For us to do the same thing, we have to do a little bit more work. So the first thing is we have to put the keyword for. Now for is telling JavaScript that we have a loop coming up. And now we have to pass 3 statements or instructions to JavaScript to tell the for loop how to work. So the first thing is we're going to create an incrementer. So for I, that is the incrementer, and we're going to set it to 0. So now our incrementer, which is something that counts every time the loop goes through, is set to 0. And we separate that with a semicolon. The next, we want to tell the loop how many times to run. So we will run it as many times as there are elements in the array. So I is going to run as long as it is less than x.length. And the length is the amount of elements. And then another semicolon. And the last statement is how do we increment the counter, the incrementer, and that after every loop, I will add 1 to itself. Now, this is 3 instructions that we just gave to the for loop. The first one is to create an incrementer, which is called I. The second one is how many times it's going to run, which is as long as I is less than x.length. And the third instruction is how to increment it, which is I gets added 1. So therefore it's going to run once, and I is going to turn into 1, and it's going to measure, well, 1 is greater than x.length, which is 5. Nope. And it's going to run again until this turns 5. Is 5 less than 5? Nope. And then it will stop. So let's pass it the block of code we want it to do, and we will print it out to the array the same. We will print it out to the screen the same way. So console.log. This is almost the same thing as puts. We can do x, and we want to print out I. Always have that semicolon there. And close the brackets, and we have the same thing. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the difference between Ruby and JavaScript. Ruby has a built-in iterator method, many of them actually, that will iterate over the array. But what happens if we want to do something slightly more complicated? Let's say we want to print only the even numbers. In this, actually, JavaScript has a slight advantage. So we will start again, and we're going to give the same conditions for var I equals 0. Start the counter off at 0. But, and again, we're going to run it as long as x is. But the difference is the counter, we're going to update 2 for every loop we run. So I is not going to equal I plus 1, it's going to equal I plus 2. Sorry. And because of that, it's going to only print even numbers. And let's close it off, semicolon, close the loop, and we see it only printed out 0, 2, and 4. Now that is because we didn't give it any logic to change. There was no difference in control flow, but the difference is that I here starts off at 0, and then we're adding 2 to it. So therefore it goes to 2. And then we're adding another 2. It goes to 4. And then it's over. And there we see that we can loop and print out only even numbers in JavaScript. On the other hand, in Ruby, and we'll clear it again and open IRB. To do this, we actually have to put in logic. So now we will declare x, and it will be equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we want to loop it. So x.each, just like before, pass a block of code. Now the difference now will be we're going to print, but what are we going to print? Only if I modulus 2, which is I divided by 2, if the remainder is 0, in that case, and then we're using the ternary operator, and the ternary operator is just looking at this. Is this true? Then we're going to print out the number. Otherwise, we're going to print out not an even number. And there it is. And when I press enter, here we have it. 0, not an even number. 2, not an even number. 4, not an even number. Now, we can do this in a different way in Ruby and look at the index, right? But right now, we need logic here. This is as if we're writing if I modulus 2, which is 0 divided by 2, 1 divided by 2, 3 divided by 2, equals to 0, question mark, if, then print out, we have the put statement here, prints out I, which is, you see here. Otherwise, our loop will print out not an even number, which it prints out right here. And this is just some of the small differences between Ruby and JavaScript. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something, and I hope you come back. Thank you very much.